The jet engines roared as the plane lifted into the night sky. Seat belts clicked, flight attendants smiled, and a hush fell across the cabin. Except in row 7. Victoria Hale, 32, CEO of Hale Enterprises, adjusted her diamond bracelet and glanced at the man seated beside her. His clothes were plain, his shoes worn, and a small boy slept against his arm. He didn't belong in first class, at least not in her eyes. She smirked, whispering loud enough for him to hear. First class isn't for men like that. He said nothing, just tightened his hold on the sleeping child, gaze fixed forward. Minutes later, the plane jolted violently. A deep, tearing shudder ripped through the fuselage. Overhead bins rattled. Drinks splashed across laps. A chorus of gasps filled the cabin. The captain's voice broke through the chaos. "Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts immediately. Severe turbulence ahead." The calm of luxury turned to panic. A woman screamed. Someone cursed. Victoria's polished demeanor cracked in an instant. She fumbled for her oxygen mask, hands shaking, but it slipped from her grasp, swinging just out of reach. Then, steady hands caught hers. The man beside her, this broke dad, pressed the mask firmly to her face. "Breathe," he said, his tone low and commanding. His eyes met hers, gray, sharp, and utterly calm. The storm still howled around them, but something in his voice anchored her. The boy stirred. "Daddy, are we falling?" "No, son. We're steady. I've got you." That quiet assurance rippled through the row. People clung to his steadiness like it was oxygen itself. Even Victoria, trembling beneath her designer coat, felt her pulse slow. For minutes that felt like hours, the plane shuddered through the storm. Then gradually the turbulence eased. The cabin fell into stunned silence, punctuated by relieved laughter and shaky applause. Victoria didn't join in. She turned toward him, toward the man who had saved her, without a word. He sat upright, the child asleep again in his arms, as if nothing had happened. "Who are you?" she whispered. He adjusted the boy's blanket, eyes still on the dark window. "Just a father trying to get home." The words were simple, but something in them struck her, calm, grounded, impossibly deep. She didn't believe him. Not entirely. The flight attendants moved through the aisle, checking passengers. Whispered conversations followed, nervous laughter, gratitude, relief. But Victoria couldn't look away from him. "You didn't even flinch," she said quietly. "Flinching doesn't help in the middle of a storm," he replied. His composure unsettled her. She was used to control, to command, to fear, hers or others. But this man, he carried serenity like armor. "You said you're just a father," she pressed. "But fathers don't react like that, not unless they've been trained." He gave a small chuckle. "You've been around a lot of professionals then." "I built empires," she shot back. "I've seen powerful men break under pressure." "You didn't." Before he could respond, the boy murmured, "Daddy, tell me the story about the mountains." The man's face softened. "Once, there was a father who carried his son up the tallest mountain. Everyone said they'd never make it. It was too steep, too cold. But he kept going. Do you know why?" "Why?" The boy yawned. "Because he wasn't climbing for himself. He was climbing for his son." The child drifted back to sleep. Victoria sat frozen, her throat tight. That wasn't a bedtime story. It was lived experience. "You're not what you seem," she said softly. He finally looked at her. "And you're used to putting people into boxes. CEO, billionaire, broke dad. It's safer that way, isn't it?" Her cheeks flushed. No one had spoken to her like that in years. "Fine," she managed. "What's your name?" "Ethan," he said. "Ethan Ross." The name hit like a jolt. She'd heard it before, whispered at private government dinners. Ethan Ross, Air Force strategist. A man once decorated for classified missions. Then nothing. Vanished from the public eye. "You're not supposed to be here," she breathed. He looked away. "And yet, here I am, a man on a plane with his son. That's all that matters." Victoria stared. She wasn't used to silence she couldn't fill. "Why first class?" she challenged. "Because the miles were free," he said simply. And my boy deserves a soft seat sometimes. His tone wasn't defensive, just matter of fact. It humbled her more than any insult could have. As the cabin dimmed for the overnight flight, most passengers fell into uneasy sleep. Victoria couldn't. Her mind replayed every second of the storm. The fear, the calm, his voice cutting through panic. She turned slightly toward him. "Why did you help me?" Ethan opened his eyes. "Because kindness doesn't need a reason," he said. "And fear doesn't deserve to be carried alone." Her breath caught. The simplicity of it shattered something in her. She turned toward the window, blinking fast. Tears she hadn't shed in years threatening to fall. She didn't know why it mattered so much. But deep down, she knew her life had just crossed paths with someone who would change it forever. When the wheels touched down, the cabin erupted in applause. Relief, laughter. The storm was over, but Victoria barely moved. Ethan stood, calm and steady, adjusting the strap of a worn duffel bag. His son's head nestled against his chest. No entourage, no arrogance, just quiet strength. She followed him off the plane, her heels clicking against the polished terminal floor. Before he disappeared into crowd, she called out, "Ethan!" He turned, the boy half asleep on his shoulder. "I owe you," she said quickly, "for what you did. For me. For everyone." "You don't owe me anything," he replied. "I just did what anyone should." Her voice trembled. "Not anyone. You kept calm when we fell apart. You saved me." He smiled faintly. "You're alive because the plane landed, not because of me." She shook her head. "You made me breathe again." His composure flickered, just for a second. "I told you," he said softly. "Kindness doesn't need a reason." Victoria hesitated, pride warring with humility. "Do you even know who I am?" He met her gaze, unflinching. Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises, known for breaking rivals, with a smile. Her breath hitched. "And you still helped me." "Why wouldn't I?" "Because no one helps me unless they want something," she murmured. He shifted his son's weight, eyes steady. "Sometimes people build walls so high they forget there's still human behind them. Fear doesn't care who you are. It just strips everything away." The words landed deep, cutting through the armor she'd worn for years. The terminal emptied until it was just them, two strangers who'd survived the same storm. Victoria drew a sharp breath. "Ethan, I want to make you an offer." He frowned. "I'm not looking for charity. It's not charity. It's purpose. You have something I can't teach, real strength. I want that beside me." He studied her carefully. "What are you offering?" "A position at Hale Enterprises. Not as an employee. More, someone who protects what I built. Someone who stays calm when the world shakes." Ethan looked down at his son, who stirred softly. "And why me?" "Because I've never met anyone who reminded me so clearly of what strength looks like." Ethan's expression didn't change. If anything, the lines around his eyes deepened. "I appreciate the offer," he said finally, "but my life isn't built for boardrooms anymore." Victoria's confidence faltered. "You're turning down a position before you even know the details?" "I've learned details don't change the truth," he replied. "And the truth is, I don't belong in your world." "My world," she challenged. "You mean the one where people actually make things happen?" His jaw flexed just slightly. "No, the one where everything is a transaction." The words hit her harder than she expected. She wanted to fire back, to cut him down the way she did anyone who questioned her authority, but she couldn't. Not this time. The boy stirred in his arms. Ethan brushed a hand over his hair. "We've got a long drive ahead. I need to get him home." "Where's home?" she asked. "Anywhere that's quiet," he said with a small smile. "Someplace that doesn't shake." For a moment, silence filled the space between them. It wasn't awkward, just heavy with everything unspoken. Victoria swallowed. "You really won't take anything for what you did?" "I didn't do it to get something back," he said simply. "People forget how to be human when they start putting price tags on decency." "You think I've forgotten?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, not cruelly, but like a man looking straight through armor. "I think you remember it only when the world forces you to. That stung, because it was true. The turbulence hadn't just shaken the plane. It had shaken her life wide open. As he started to walk away, she called after him, "Ethan, wait." He turned. "You said you used to belong to a world like mine. What happened?" He hesitated, eyes distant. "I believed in something once. Thought I could make the world safer. Then I learned safety's just another illusion. The people you protect move on. The ones you lose stay." Her breath caught. "You lost someone." He nodded once. "My wife, for years ago. I promised her I'd keep our boys safe, no matter what it took. That's all that matters now." Victoria's throat tightened. For a moment, the airport noise seemed to fade. All she saw was the quiet strength of a man who had rebuilt his life from ashes, a man who had lost everything, and still found a way to stay kind. "I'm sorry," she said softly. He gave a small nod. "Don't be. Pain has its purpose. It teaches you who you really are when the mask falls off." She looked away, blinking hard. Maybe that's what I needed tonight. To lose control for once. To see what's real. The boys stirred again, sleepy eyes peeking out from Ethan's shoulder. "Daddy, are we home yet?" "Almost," Ethan murmured. "We just have to get through the crowd." Victoria smiled faintly. "He's lucky," she said. "I'm the lucky one," Ethan replied. "He's the reason I still believe in good days." The honesty in his voice cracked something open inside her. All her success, her fame, her money, it suddenly felt so fragile, like glass under pressure. Before she could speak again, her assistant appeared, phone in hand, relief flooding her face. "Ms. Hale, thank God you're safe. The board's been trying to reach you. Your PR team's ready for a statement. The turbulence is all over the news." Victoria's instincts kicked in. The mask slipped back on. "Tell him I'll address it when I'm ready." Her assistant hesitated. "Should I arrange a transport?" "No," Victoria said. "Not yet." When she turned back to Ethan, he was already heading toward the exit, moving slowly through the thinning crowd. She watched him go, that quiet steadiness in every step. Something inside her refused to let him disappear. She followed. Outside, the air was cool, rain still dripping from the sky. Ethan stopped near the curb, setting his son gently into a car seat inside an old SUV that had definitely seen better days. Victoria approached. "Ethan!" He looked up, surprised. "You said you don't belong in my world," she began. "But maybe that's exactly why I need someone like you in it." He studied her face, searching for motive, for manipulation, for the CEO who always had an angle. But this time there was none, just truth. "I don't do contracts," he said. "I don't play games." "Then don't," she said quickly. "I don't want another strategist or security officer. I want someone who tells me the truth when everyone else is too afraid." He considered that. "And what would you call that position?" She gave a half smile. "My conscience, maybe." He chuckled quietly. "That's a dangerous job." "I'm not easy to work with," she admitted. "But you make people calm, Ethan, even when everything's falling apart. I don't know what to call that, but I need it." He closed the SUV door gently, his son already asleep. "You don't need me for that, Victoria. You just need to stop pretending you don't feel." The words hit deeper than she wanted to admit. He extended a hand, the faintest trace of warmth in his eyes. "You're stronger than you think. You just forgot what strength feels like when it's quiet." She took his hand, not as a CEO, but as a woman who'd finally met someone unafraid of her walls. "Maybe you're right," she said softly. "But if you ever need a place where calm pays, well, my door's open." He smiled. "Noted." They stood in silence for a moment, rain whispering against the asphalt, the city lights flickering in the distance. Then Ethan stepped back, climbed into the driver's seat, and started the engine. As the SUV rolled away, Victoria stood there, hair damp, heels sinking slightly into the wet pavement. For the first time in years, she felt still. The chaos inside her had gone quiet. Her assistant hurried up behind her. "Ms. Hale, should I call the car?" Victoria shook her head. "No, I'll walk." She pulled her coat tighter, and started down the sidewalk alone. The storm had ended, but its echo lingered inside her, reminding her of a stranger who had taught her more in one night than power ever had. A week later, her office skyline glowed silver against the dawn. Victoria sat behind her glass desk, scrolling through the day's reports, mergers, negotiations, board meetings. The usual noise. But her eyes kept drifting to the corner of her screen, where a news headline read, "Former Air Force officer helps rural town evacuate flood zone." There was a photo, grainy, taken from someone's phone. Ethan Ross mudstreaked, carrying a child through rising water. His son beside him, holding a flashlight. Victoria smiled faintly. "Still steady in the storm," she whispered. Her assistant knocked gently. "Ma'am, the board is ready for you. Tell them I'll be there soon," she said. She rose, straightened her jacket, and took one last look at the photo. Then, softly, she whispered, "Thank you for reminding me how to breathe." And as she walked toward the conference room, heels echoing on marble, there was something different about her step. Lighter, slower, human. Because sometimes survival isn't about landing safely. It's about who sits beside you when the world falls apart, and the calm they leave behind when they're gone.